We have a special guest here on the Seacoast Sports Forum. The gentleman sitting next to me is the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association. From this point on, it's going to be known as the NHIAA. Jeff Collins. Glad to have you on board, sir.
Glad to be here.
And we're doing a state of, the season. We're into the fall football season for sports here in the Granite State.
Absolutely.
And first off, I guess, let people know what you do as Executive Director.
There you go. That's a great question. So the organization in and of itself is a group of schools that have come together to agree upon a certain standard of playing against each other, certain standard of eligibility rules, and that everybody abides by and follows. We as an organization are made up of 89 individual high schools from across the state of New Hampshire, where one of our functions is putting on the state tournament events. Right. But certainly during the year is, having conversations about the rules of the sports, what particular rules are, that are decided upon by our parent organization, which is the National Federation of High Schools, but also local rules. What do we have in place for New Hampshire specifically? And it's all done by committee work. So all of our committees, we have sports-specific committees, we have eligibility committee, classification committee, but all of our committee membership is made up of principals, athletic directors, superintendents, coaches from across the state of New Hampshire. So, I like to say that the NHIAA isn't just Jeff Collins or everybody in the office in Concord, it's all of us. So our book, our rule book, or our handbook has been created by past generations of my predecessors and coaches' predecessors and people who have worked in and contributed to the games of New Hampshire since our origins back in the mid-1940s.
So you're juggling a lot of teams and a lot of things going on constantly in the state.
Schools have a ton of responsibility, and they certainly do. And I think it's the athletic directors across the state of New Hampshire are fantastic, and they have a lot going on, and we aid and help them out with what we believe is a absolutely essential part of a high school experience, and that extension of the classroom out on the playing field. Still, the lessons of winning and losing are hard learned day in and day out across the state of New Hampshire. So, we aid in athletic directors and the principals association, and it's a principals group, helping them to enforce the bylaws that we all believe are important as rules of engagement across the state.
Jeff, a little bit about your background. Let our viewers know a little bit about what brings you to this role as an executive director of the NHIAA.
Absolutely. I kind of began this whole odyssey, if you will, as a student athlete myself. So I am not from the state of New Hampshire, but lucky enough to call New Hampshire home after coming to the University of New Hampshire, getting my teaching or my degree, but also playing football at UNH.
Who was your coach?
My coach was Coach Bose. Coach Bose was the head coach, my position coach with Jack Bicknell Jr.
Okay.
Whose father was a longtime BC guy, and Jackie Jr. was Doug Flutie's center at BC. Started off, got a teaching job at Salem, New Hampshire, in Salem High School, taught social studies for a while.
Go Blue Devils.
There you go. I know you have that.
You might not know, I did graduate from Salem High School, but I'm Exeter High all through.
There you go.
True blue.
But I didn't teach you it.
No, you didn't. No.
A little bit different generation there.
Okay.
So I started coaching at that point in time. Became an administrator at Salem High School, moved on to Nashua, was the principal at Portsmouth High School, where we had an incredible English department, including somebody you know very well.
See, again, we got this whole
exactly
all these connections.
7 degrees of separation.
7 degrees of separation. Think of that.
But to be honest with you, that whole notion of sport and learning outside the classroom environment was always important to me. It was the foundation of who I was, and this opportunity presented itself, and it, as you were off camera, Coach, you were talking about how you go back to the Walter Smith days. the opportunity to become the executive director doesn't come up very, very
No,
often.
no.
Most people are in that role and they stay in that role for a while.
Right.
And the opportunity presented itself, and I said, how do we give back and make sure that those learning experiences outside of the classroom are there for kids, not only for the foreseeable future, but down the road? And what does that look like in the ever-changing world of education that we live in?
And you know, I want to compliment the NHIAA as a former coach, as a fan, as a father of my son as the girls' ice hockey coach at Exeter High. And it is what you do for the state of New Hampshire and for all of the athletes is tremendous. And in years past, sometimes the NHIAA and the coaches, and the coaches were like antagonistic. And that doesn't happen anymore. And I think we're all in this business for the same reason. We're here to give student athletes a chance to compete athletically and in a fair and level playing field. And I just want to compliment you for everything that the NHIAA does. I mean, as I'm going to use girls ice hockey as an example, to have those tournaments at a huge facility in Manchester. Yeah. I mean, and if you're a ice hockey fan at this level, I mean, you can stay for 4 games.
Right.
And football is the same thing.
Right.
To have that at UNH, it's just...
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I think it is, you're absolutely right. It's all working together for a common goal. And the coaches, you know, it's not about, you know, getting every kid into college to play sports. It's maximizing the opportunities that we have here. And again, we say it, the school-based athletics, it's about the learning experience that they have out there. All of our playing days come to an end, some sooner than others, unfortunately. But, you know, what are those life lessons that you learn? I mean, there's 4 examples of people here whose career paths and life paths were impacted by sport. And you've been in the coaching game for many, many years and influencing those young men and women. And those are the pieces that you hold on to. You know, just recently, my hometown, grew up in the same hometown that Bill Parcells is from, and his brother just passed away. And reading the notes, he was our rec director in town, just the notes of that everybody sent in from my generation, earlier generations, of how impactful his life has been on all of ours is just a testament to that. It's no different than a really good teacher as well.
You get a great staff too. I just want to compliment your staff because, well, I've been involved with both the NHIAA basketball and football postseason tournaments in the past few years, and your crew are just super. You have a good
We have a solid.
If you want to mention them,
they come from all diverse, different backgrounds. I mean, Donna Plum, who is kind of she's been there the longest, and she has the institutional knowledge, if you will, of how things have been done in the past. My assistant director is a guy by the name of Dave Rosmick. He was
UNH football.
UNH football player.
And
he and
athletic director.
Director at Salem.
Yeah.
Played professional football. His career was extended a little bit beyond everybody else's. Diane Jobin, who's our finance director, does an incredible job. And then we have a Blue Hawker. We have Shannon Quinn as part of our team, our social media marketing people, and to Nate and Jordan, who are answering the phones and being there. And we also have a great program called Life of an Athlete that is free to all of our member schools, and Ben and Sarah do an incredible job with that. So yeah, we're very fortunate. We come from very diverse backgrounds, and but we're all coming together, as Coach, you said, that common cause.
Jeff, I was going to ask what are some of the national and statewide initiatives that might be on the table for your council to be dealing with these days?
Yeah, I mean, nationally, just recently The participation numbers came out and took a slight dip. I think it was 21 years of an increase of participation numbers
Overall in
across
all sports?
overall in all sports. It's been on the increase for something like 21 years in a row with some unprecedented growth. It took a slight dip, so we're looking at those numbers nationally, but how they impact our state. Our state is seeing high school enrollments go down, but our participation numbers are fairly stable. Good. So that's kind of an interesting juxtaposition, if you will. I think the nationally, the push is for how do we celebrate school-based athletics, our individual associations, how do we do to get that message out, who we are and what we're all about. Just a number of different things, over the past few years, certainly football and concussion protocols and making the sport as safe as you possibly
Sure.
can. Heat-related illness
Right.
is another big thing
Right.
that they're tackling. How do we better prepare our kids for, the rigors of competition and practice and things like that? So we all, we take a look at that and, how does it fit into little old New Hampshire? But again, New Hampshire is a microcosm. We are the National Federation, as I said, is kind of the NCAA of high schools. And we are one of 51 members of that. So
Sure.
we all learn from each other and share with each other.
Right, and you also have to deal with officials
Yep.
as well.
The
officials organization.
Yeah, that's a great thing, and
Yeah,
that's what
I
we're
can
dealing
bring
with
that up.
nationally too. We're losing officials all the time. It's
You can do a plug here for anybody
Oh
who
my
wants to
gosh.
be an official,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they need to do.
If you're all looking to be official, please visit our website, and there's ways to join.
Yeah.
We're losing great officials, not just they're retiring, and the people want to coach. They're not necessarily filling the ranks. So.
I just want to throw in a sidebar there. Years ago, when my son was playing basketball, I decided to take the course, the basketball officiating course.
Yeah, how'd you do on the test?
I did all right. The written test.
Yes.
It was the on the court test.
Yeah.
I got nervous. Let's put it that way. But what I learned about the game and officiating.
Oh, I know.
Oh man,
I know.
And it made me appreciate the game more,
Right.
and appreciate the officials more,
Right.
because you get out there and you've got everybody's an armchair.
Everybody knows
official.
the call, yeah.
And I mean, I've seen it from baseball right on through whatever sport, and when we do the tournaments, we read announcements, not public service announcements, but
Right.
announcements about the NHIAA. One of them is about becoming an official. I encourage anybody that thinks that they know the
Absolutely.
game perfectly. You get a book, they'll teach you all the little tricks of the trade, how to read the book and how to interpret it. And then you'll have a whole different respect for the game, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're right. It's a different ball game. They have the toughest job out
yeah.
there on the floor. If you go to a state championship game, basketball game, Exeter was in it last year. That's the last place I would want to be, is
Right.
wearing that striped shirt in the middle of
Right.
the Lundholm Gymnasium. It's it's not an easy thing to do,
No.
but it's absolutely essential.
And you have people yelling at you and screaming
Yeah,
at you, as I
well.
found out, and it was different. But I'm glad I took the course. And so anybody just would like to know, go for it.
Mention officials, I don't know if you realize, but back in the day when I came to Exeter, home teams hired their own officials.
They did.
Wow,
Bringers.
So
that's interesting.
yes, we would hire our own officials. They had to be
Yeah,
certified.
sure.
But you hired your own officials.
Yeah.
So consequently, you hoped, and I don't
Use names.
No,
Yeah.
no. What I was going to say, I don't think the officials were homers.
No.
But you wanted to make sure you got a fair shake,
Right.
especially when you went on the road. Because when you went to other parts of the state, you went up to Keene,
Sure.
or you were dealing with, or Milford and places like that. You were dealing with officials that you hadn't seen before,
Right.
and every official calls the game differently.
Sure.
But
And there's and these guys are, I'm sure they were very professional back
They
then,
were.
but perception is sometimes what
Right.
people perceive to be reality. And, you know, and again, it's like having your own kid in the classroom, right? Sometimes you're tougher on your own kid
Right.
than you are, you know, on
Right.
somebody else. So, yeah, we've evolved where the assigning is done by a central location. But, you know, again, when we go to championship games and playoffs, we try to alleviate those perceptions and make sure that they're not affiliated with the individual school district.
Probably,
because-
I was going to say, probably the only place you could be a referee without any training is the WWF or WWE, whatever it's called. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
Well, you'd have to go
you
to-
just have to
you
have
have
the
to go to
golden
acting
voice.
Yeah,
school.
well,
Yeah.
or just have the striped shirt. You
Right,
know, about
right,
that.
right.
You know, it's all predetermined or predestined.
I was going to say, Jeff, one of the things over the last few years, maybe 8 years, that I've been impressed by is the emphasis on sportsmanship. That the #1 award from the NHIAA is that sportsmanship award.
Yeah.
And the schools that get that honor that award higher than I think any state championship award that they can get. I know the Blue Hawks have won it for a number of years, but that's a big award.
Right. So every year there's the schools across the state of New Hampshire per division. Basically, it's based upon feedback from coaches and school officials, and we award one banner per school in each division. And it's a big NHIAA green banner, and it's pretty impressive. You walk into Exeter High School and everything, while the blue banners are hanging from the ceiling, this green banner sticks out. And it's not just based upon how the kids conduct themselves on the fields or on the courts or wherever in the pool. It's how the fans also interact with the game. So it's really a community honor to get that. And Exeter was fortunate enough to win the sportsmanship banner. And really it's a commitment by the school district across the board to say, this is who we are. This is how we represent our town and our community. Oyster River, I was just invited to Oyster River High School last Friday. They won it for Division II, and you know, they invited me to their Spirit Week assembly, and you could hear a pin drop, and the place went bananas because everybody can celebrate that win, not just the you know, the 16 on the basketball team that win a
Right.
state championship banner, which is fantastic, but everybody shares in that reward, if you will, for how they conduct themselves.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, and you brought it up a few minutes ago, is, and one of the announcements that I read at the tournaments, is about Life of an Athlete.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah, the Life of an Athlete program is essential in the state of New Hampshire, to be honest with you. We were very fortunate enough a number of years ago, 8 years ago now, to receive a grant from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation to put together basically a drug and alcohol prevention program and a school leadership program all in one. And as you know, the statistics around the state and around the country are very troubling, if you will, with regard to what kids are doing. But the Life of an Athlete program is a school-based program free of charge to all of our member schools, where we go in, we train coaches, we train adult mentors, we train the kids to make better decisions about what they're doing with their lives. Coaches, it's as simple as, you know, after the game, pulling everybody together and saying, don't do anything stupid tonight. You know, go home, celebrate the win, you know, but lay off the drugs, lay off the alcohol. The more times I hear it, it's a great thing. We know that kids in school, you know, kids are making good choices, but they need to be surrounded with other kids that are making good choices and changing the culture within a building. So we've been very fortunate over the past 8 years to receive the funding for this program from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. We are also received state funding for that program, and we'd be more than willing to come into any school across the state and help these kids make better choices with their lives and change that culture within the building that, you know, it's necessarily celebrating wins with, you know, beers or something else, because we want to make them understand that, you know, these life choices, they can be devastating, if you will, down the road.
Consequences.
Yeah. So very excited about the program, the progress. They also put together, in conjunction with the athletic directors, a huge conference. The past couple of years, it's been up at the Mount Washington Hotel. It's a leadership conference. And getting kids to really take charge of their school and become the leaders that they are within their school. So we'll train up anybody. It doesn't matter if they're on the chess team or in the band or in the chorus or anybody who shows up to the meetings.
Just not athletics.
It's just not athletics. It's a way into the school, but we're not taking attendance. We're not asking if you're in the band or chorus or on the football team. Anybody who wants to hear the message,
Just get them involved.
Yeah. And it's based upon an Olympic trainer by the name of John Underwood. Did a lot of training with Olympic athletes and showed the impact of drugs and alcohol on their training. And I think one of the most telling things is that, after a weekend of binge drinking, your reaction time is slowed up to a point where, in a sprint race, in a 100-meter dash, it's the difference between first and last place. That 1.2 seconds or whatever reaction time. So we know kids are very committed to their sports. They're lifting, they're running, they're doing all the right things. And then the weekends, maybe they're making some poor choices that are really taking away from what their goals are. And everybody's goal is to, stand there with a state championship plaque and a medal around their neck and winning this. Get them to understand that, you're making good choices during the week and really working hard, and we see that, we know that.
Right.
But that needs to carry through to the weekend because you might as well just be sitting at home, rather than killing yourself in the weight room if you're going to be binge drinking.
One of the challenges, I think, that the NHIAA and high school athletics is facing right now, in addition to what you just mentioned, is over-specialization of athletes in one activity only, one sport only, and being encouraged by outside organizations who personally, in a lot of cases, are in it for the dough. They're in it for money. And they encourage athletes not to play for school teams, to play for this travel team or that travel. How can the NHIAA combat that?
And I think this goes back to Sam's original question. Nationally, what's going on? There's a lot of conversation about that. And sports specialization is leading to specific injuries, if you will, overuse injuries. You have kids that are concentrating solely on baseball, and you were a baseball coach for many, many years. You have to give that arm a rest. At some point in time, you have to give that arm a rest. You see it in soccer. If kids are going from, maybe they're playing for their high school, then they're playing soccer all winter long, all spring long, all summer long. It's the same repetitive motions that you're doing that's adding to these repetitive use injuries, if you will. Whereas if you hung up your soccer cleats at the end of the soccer season, maybe picked up a basketball and played some hoop, there was a lot of similarities between the sports, but you're using your arms a little bit more. You're, with those overuse injuries. And again, the competition from outside agencies, there's a spot for everybody, and there's a piece for everybody. I think it's a matter of having some perspective on things. We've done some research about kids that are playing soccer and how many games that they're actually playing in a week. And in a sport like football, you would say, oh my gosh, if you're playing 8 games in a week, that's crazy. But 8 games, 10 games, soccer games in a week too. That's a lot. There's a lot. And these kids school's different now than it was when we were all in school. The expectations are higher, what they're doing, the workload and the AP courses that they're taking and, the competitiveness of colleges. We all need to keep all of that stuff into perspective.
When I do the football banquet or award ceremony, I usually get out there at some point and talk to the underclassmen, directly to them and say, look, these next few years are really probably, from an athletic viewpoint, the best years of your life. Some of you will get into college and play college ball somewhere, and maybe beyond. We don't know. We were talking just a little while ago about one of the few standout stars in basketball, Matt Bonner, who made it through his years at Concord, then he went to Florida, and then he made it to the pros. But he's one exception out of thousands of kids that have played in programs. So enjoy what they're doing. Like you say, stay healthy, follow some guidelines to keep yourself in shape and enjoy the sport, enjoy the moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we come from a state that, we've had some kids that have gone on to some big schools and done some great things in the pros, but the vast majority of the kids in the state of New Hampshire, of the 44,000 kids that are participating in sports every year, this is it. This is their culminating activity.
That's right.
And I think it's important to keep that in mind. The playing field has changed. Even when, I mentioned that I played at UNH, I don't know if I would have gotten a scholarship. The defensive linemen that UNH has are running 40 times like the running backs used to when I was at UNH. So it's a different ball game altogether. And I do believe you got to enjoy this. And to be honest with you, there is nothing like playing in front of your friends and your family.
Sure.
You see it at the tournaments.
Yeah, you go to the JFK for ice hockey, for the semifinals, and the place is just completely packed. It's mobbed, and people are there, and these are all your brothers and sisters that you grew up with, and all that kind of stuff. There is something to be said about that, and for the community as well. When Exeter was in the state championship for basketball, you're seeing people. I know it from Portsmouth. When the first time that I was there, and we were in it at UNH. People who graduated in the 50s were coming back to the game, and it galvanizes the community together. And really, that's what it's all about. Even Exeter, I mean, they go around the bandstand and block traffic. If
That's
they
right.
A lot of people from 75 showed up at Lundholm this year.
Right.
From the 75 championship.
And they're wearing their Letterman jackets. They're wearing everything. To me, that is absolutely
It is
cool.
really fun to see the towns. I'm glad that Wildcat Stadium is the home of the football tournament now for the 3 divisions, because that place gets rocking.
Yeah, it's a great place to play, and for a kid in New Hampshire, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
We don't have a Gillette Stadium, but Coach Mack, our connections, both myself and Dave Rosmick, our connections to Coach Mack, he's great. He understands it. He gives the home of the higher seed gets the UNH locker room. And you should see the kids' faces when you open up the locker room for the first time. They see the Bryce whatever musket hanging there, and they see the uniforms. And I remember Plymouth the first year we had it. Plymouth had 2 kids that were on the UNH team. They all huddled around the kids' locker, and we're taking pictures. It is an eye-opening experience for these kids, and running out there and playing in front of that, and the place is packed, and they're playing music and at timeouts, and it's just an awesome experience.
A lot of fun. And the Lundholm for the basketball too, packing that place.
Great spot. And they've been there.
They turn people away at the game. Championship game.
We try not to.
Fire rules are fire rules.
Fire rules
folks,
are the fire rules. But it's a great experience, and they do an incredible job. They love having us there, and we love being there. As an alum, it's
Sam and I enjoy being in the post.
I know you do. Yeah,
we enjoy being there.
We get the best seat in the house.
you get it in for free, boys. That's what it is.
Jeff,
We earn our keep, Jeff.
One of the things that I have finally, just to kind of ask you about today, is a lot of times I'm asked by parents about whether or not my son or daughter should play high school sports. They're worried about the safety. They're worried about those types of things. What kind of message can we give parents out there that things are better than they used to be?
Oh my gosh, the the coaching, the climate is completely different than, I graduated from high school in the late 80s. It is completely different than what it once was. The care that the coaches are taking with their student athletes, the concussion awareness, the heat-related illness, the amount of courses that the coaches have to take in order to even step out on the court or the field.
For example, high school trainers on site now. You think about when we played, ever having a high school trainer around, if you got banged up or nicked up, what would happen?
And
You'd go home and put a Band-Aid on.
Practicing in 100-degree heat, and somebody's throwing you some salt tablets. So that's all gone. That's all gone. It's really the care of the student athlete is of paramount importance. And any school and any coach and any athletic director, that is what the center of it is. It's not about that. And as far as safety of the sports, you cannot deny that there are inherent risks.
Sure.
In playing sports. I mean, my sport was football, and I have a senior that plays football as well, and we as a family understand what's going on. We make ourselves aware with that of everything that's out there, but really try to impress upon him. And Coach Ball does an incredible job of teaching tackling the right way, not taking kids to the ground. I mean, they have crash mats when they do take a kid down on the ground. They're not falling on the turf and hitting the back of their heads. They're tackling into mats. They're tackling safely. Again, anytime you put a bunch of kids in motion on the field, regardless if it's football, soccer, hockey, whatever, anything can happen. But in my eyes, the benefit of it is those life lessons that you learn from working with individuals and working with coaches and learning those things pay dividends down the road. So that's what it's really all about. And
so I can say to the parents, just call the NHIAA office and ask for Mr. Collins.
call Sam Bruno.
He will take care of it.
He'll take care of it.
Well, another thing the NHIAA does is that it recognizes coaches who were in the field for a long time. And I know I'm a proud holder of a gold card.
The gold cards.
And that entitles me and a guest to go to any high school event free of charge. And it allows, including state finals and including state tournaments.
Yeah. Look, I mean, history is important. If we don't recognize the people who have come before us, what kind of organization are we? So we recognize the coaches have been coaching for 25 years. Not that they're retired, many of them are still coaching. We have a Hall of Fame where we recognize not only past great athletes in the state, but coaches, contributors, newspaper men and women who, these are the people that are going out there on, in the middle of the winter, driving to a JV basketball game to write an article in the paper. Because how the kids look at, oh my gosh, my name was in the paper, this is fantastic. So, you have to honor those people that have come before us. And it's not just the athletes, because they couldn't make it happen without great people. And parents, too. I mean, the parents are there. They're the ones who are driving the kids back and forth to practice.
Well, that's what I always think
on
senior night.
Absolutely. You got to thank the parents.
Thank you, parents.
Yeah, for being
those kids, wouldn't be what they are or where they are without you guys. 2-minute drill. We do it at the end of our show. Yeah.
I was never a 2-minute guy.
Well, no, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but we really appreciate you coming by today. This has been great.
My pleasure.
And we're going to definitely want to have you back here.
I told you earlier, I have a face for radio.
No, you do great. We are all radio faces, but we love doing this too. And actually, this is where it started. It was on radio years ago, and then we, got lucky.
Should move back.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
No, I should move back. You're fine.
I am working on the ball spot. Anyway, 2-minute drill is where we just come up with anything that is current or something that's on our minds. As far as the NHIAA. Anything that, we got tournaments coming up.
Yeah, we're in tournament season already. We had bass fishing tournament 2 weeks ago. We'll have the girls golf tournament coming up this weekend. Boys golf is right around the corner. We look like we're heading kind of the midpoint of the season, depending upon what sport you follow, but we're culminating some of these things already. So
we're looking forward to be involved with you during the football finales there at UNH Wildcat Stadium. So maybe we'll touch base there and do an update for Seacoast Sports Forum. But I don't know, gentlemen, have you got any other comments?
Just fortunate here in Exeter at Bill Ball Stadium that we host some of the state events in the fall and spring seasons. I believe the Division II soccer, field hockey semifinals will be at Ball Stadium this year. So, if you want to see some other games from around the state during tournament time in October and early November, they'll be coming to Exeter as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, and again, to let people understand, you represent all the divisions, not just Division I or bigger schools.
Absolutely.
This is the whole state.
Yeah, all divisions.
All those different tournaments are going on in different parts of the state.
Right.
Good point, Sam.
Yeah, and there are some opportunities to see some pretty amazing programs that you wouldn't see ordinarily coming through Exeter as a Division I. you know, schools kind of from the North Country and what they have to offer. They're as passionate as the Blue Hawk community is about their sports. There's no doubt about it. Go to a Berlin hockey game, Coach. You know, you know,
Riding the bus to Berlin.
absolutely. That is worth it. That is definitely worth
And
it.
those keen blackbirds having to always, you know, come east, or somebody has to go west. You know what?
And you know what? My contribution to the 2-minute drill is the unified programs,
Oh gosh, I didn't
which
touch on
Thank
that.
you for bringing that up
are
ahead of my
getting,
notes.
you know, now those athletes are getting recognition.
Yeah.
They have their own
Right.
tournaments to shoot for, because athletics should be for everyone,
Right.
not just.
If you were to pin me down and I was asked about this, that's probably one of the greatest things we've done over the past 10 years, is having unified athletics. And that is, for those of you who do not know, that's pairing kids. Kids that typically would participate in Special Olympics, but with students that do not have a cognitive disability. So we have unified soccer in the fall, we have unified basketball in the wintertime, and then track and volleyball in the springtime. And you know, just so those kids can wear the colors of the school, the same uniforms. It's really transformed cultures within buildings. I've seen schools shut down at 1:30 for an assembly, rather than, you know, having the captains of the soccer team up there. They all come down and they see a unified basketball game. It's just absolutely incredible, not only for the athletes, but for the partners as well. And these kids get to learn how to work with these kids and just do an incredible job. It's been one of those things that, you know, you just sit back and you say, why didn't we do this 20 years ago or 25 years ago? It's an incredible opportunity.
The enthusiasm of those kids in the tournament, just, you know,
They're no
blows
different
the
than,
doors off.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
When, you know, Exeter, and it was Exeter Berlin this past year at UNH, the stands were packed, everybody was having a great time. It was awesome. It was awesome. Sportsmanship was incredible, and the game was very well played. Very well played.
You did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
You did. I think we'll adjourn the meeting.
Well, yeah, Jeff's got to get ready for the Winnicott game coming up this week.
Oh, you can.
I'm not playing, Coach. I wish I was.
We can't suit you up?
I may be good for a couple of plays. I don't know how long I'd last.
Well, we really appreciate Jeff Collins again, the Executive Director of the NHIAA, New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association. I got it all out, okay?
you go.
Without
Good.
stumbling
Nice job.
all over it. Thank you. And on behalf of the coach, Bill Taylor, with his new sign, Coach,
That's it.
and Sam Bruno, I'm Sherm Chester, inviting you to join us next time for the Seacoast Sports Forum.